Hi, this is Barry here, and you are very, very welcome to today's podcast episode from rightcom.com. And today's podcast episode is entitled More People, More Money. Now, this one is a little bit different from the rest of the podcasts I've been doing recently in that I am back on camera. And the reason is, unfortunately, I tried to record a podcast episode last night, and I think I redid this podcast episode about 20 or 30 times, and I finally just gave up because I just couldn't get it right. I was making mistakes, things were coming out wrong, and I said to myself, let's just ditch it for the day and let's try it tomorrow. So what I'm doing right now is I am going back to my video podcasting, because sometimes I find when I'm actually walking and talking that I actually do sound a bit more coherent, and sometimes it's easier to record the episodes that way. So I'm going to try doing a couple of videos and see if I can get back into my little groove again with these podcast episodes. And that's something as a side note: if you are having difficulty creating content or creating your daily writing or coming up with ideas or whatever, have a look at the environment you are in. Sometimes, I find maybe if I can't record an episode of the podcast on my driveway, sometimes if I go away with Catherine and we go to the local supermarket and I sit in the car park, sometimes I find it a lot easier. Again, it's the same content, it's the same podcast, but for whatever reason, the different environment does seem to free me up in some way. So if you are having difficulty maybe recording podcast episodes, writing content or whatever, have a look and see maybe if you can do something like I'm doing, change it maybe to a video, or maybe just go into a different room or different environment, or maybe just try recording it maybe at a different time of the day. You may find maybe that you have been pushing yourself at your worst time when you are at your least creative, and maybe later on in the day is better for you than the morning time, or maybe the opposite way around, whatever works out best for you. So that's just a little bit of a side note. So what am I talking about in this podcast episode? More people, more money. Well, at the moment I am going through a really, really great book by the great Bob Burg, and the book I'm going through is called The Go-Getter. And what I like about this book is that it's a business book, but it's not one of those dry business books where, sometimes when you finish it off, you close it up and you put it back on the shelf. After a few days you forget all the content was in it, and you're probably not taking action on it unless it's something that you need to do immediately. So what I like about this book is that it's written out as a kind of a fable, a short story. So we have this fictional piece with this character going through the book, and he's learning business lessons and life lessons, and because they're wrapped up in a story, it's easier for you to remember. That's probably why a lot of bloggers, good bloggers and good speakers, tie up their messages in stories and life lessons, because there's something about a story that's easy to remember, and it'll last a lot longer beyond the point when you probably heard it. So in this book we have this guy called Joe. Now Joe is having difficulty getting a client to sign up by the end of the week. Now this is a big client that's going to make a big difference in his world. Now it doesn't actually say what type of thing that Joe is selling, but if he doesn't get this client to sign on by Friday, it looks like Joe is going to be in financial trouble, or he may be in trouble with his job. Now Joe looks around and is wondering how can he get this client to sign, and he comes up with the idea that there is a businessman in the local area who is really powerful, is well kind of liked, and has a lot of knowledge. So he feels that if he gets this man on side and he brings him to the meeting, there's a good chance he is going to sway that client to sign on the dotted line. So what Joe does is he more or less kind of turns up on the man's doorstep and says that he needs his help, and he's very surprised that a man that is so powerful and well respected as he is does give him his time, and actually says he will coach him for the next 5 days. So in the book we have Joe travelling along with this kind of business guru, Mr. Pindar, and he is giving him tips and advice, but he's taking him around the town and he's introducing him to a new person every day. Now the person he meets on day 2 is called the CEO, and Joe, like most people, would probably be expecting some businessman to come in, and he finds a lady come into the room who doesn't seem to be the type of person he was expecting, and he finds out that rather than her being a CEO, she actually started off as a school teacher. Now this is a wealthy woman, and what happened was she was a school teacher, but she was kind of fed up the way she was like most teachers are, underpaid, kind of looked down on probably by whatever agencies or whatever, but she didn't feel that she was getting respect, and she had a great educational system that she was using on the kids to teach them. So she thought if she could get this system out into other schools and in front of other kids, she'd make a big difference in their lives also. But again too, I think the school was trying to clamp down on what she was trying to teach. So what she did was she knew that if she could create some kind of software, I think her father was a software developer or something like that, she knew that if she could get that software into as many homes as possible and in front of as many kids as possible, it would make a great difference to their education. So that's what she did, and because of that then she made an absolute fortune. Now the lesson that she was trying to teach Joe in that episode was that if you want to make more money, you have to touch more lives, and the more lives you touch and the more service you give them, the more money you'll get in return. Now I want you to think about that for a moment in your own business, wherever you are right now. How many lives are you touching? If I was an author and I only have an audience of 5 people who buy my books, I'm not really touching many lives and I'm not going to make much money. I can only sell 5 books at a time, so it means I probably need to go back and write another book to sell another 5 books. But if I could get in front of a bigger audience, or if I could provide more service to those 5 customers or my larger audience, I'd start making more money. Unfortunately, a lot of people, like as Earl Nightingale said many years back, a lot of people stand in front of an empty fireplace and expect the heat to come to them, rather than putting the logs in, putting the kindling in, the papers or whatever it is, and then lighting it up and then standing back and get the heat. They want the heat before they've put the work in, and a lot of people unfortunately at the moment are naively kind of thinking, well, if I had the money I could have the business, but they have it the wrong way around. You actually need to help the people first, and then they will help you in return. So whatever you are doing in your business right now, how many people are you affecting? How many people are you getting in front of? And the service that you are providing those people, are they happy with it? Or could you provide better service? For somebody maybe who is writing a non-fiction book, that is one way to provide service to an audience. You're helping them learn whatever skill they need to learn, but how could you provide better service to that customer? Now another way you could provide better service would be to create some kind of training course that goes over the content in the book and maybe breaks it down even into smaller pieces, or breaks it down into daily pieces that those people can take into their day every day and actually start practicing the knowledge that you have been teaching them in the book. And by you having that training course, you're serving them better because the content is being worked on, they're getting different results, and their lives are probably improving because of it. So give some thought into what you are doing right now. How many people are you getting in front of? How many lives are you affecting? And the people that you are getting in front of, how much service are you providing to them? And if you're not providing much service, or you're not getting in front of many people, you can't expect to be making much money. So keep that in mind today. More people, more service, more money. So as always, if you'd like to ask me a question in this podcast, you can reach out to barryjmcdonald@gmail.com, or if you'd like to know more where the Writecom content is, if you want to do a search for Writecom, that's WRITECOME.com. You'll find the content all over the web. And as always, thanks for sharing your time again today. Take care. Have a great day. Bye bye.